says that on Motzi Shabbos, it's very hard to sleep. I don't know if that's true for me, but Rabbi Nachman says so. And the reason is because Eliyahu Navi is coming. And he's coming to me, but it's manyan because it's Sudat of David HaMelech, and we're always singing about his Eliyahu Navi. Doesn't seem fair, but still we have to know that they both of them. He's coming to reveal, to say that David is coming. You imagine a person's whole message is to say he's like the, how do you say, the MC. He's announcing that the real one is coming. He's pretty real too, but he's. There's a few songs here now. And go right to this next one here. I skipped over a few in the meantime.
Yeah, I got it. I got it, man. I know, this was I know, and all of you.
You're too far away. I can't see you. Come over here. Come on. Come on.
I'll let you go too.
We have כיסא.
אין כיסא. רק לאליהו נביא יש כיסא.
The song of the Baal Shem Tov. You know it? The song? About Motzi Shabbos, that when we do Havdalah, so we look at their nails. So everybody says that, which to remind us that we used to have a body made out of light. As you see the light and you see the light and shining in the nails. But I heard a perush from Reb Shlomo. Once I was on the yortzeit. I was on the yortzeit of Shlomo Karlebach. I was on by the kever. So I remember that just recently, Rav Berlin's brother was niftar. So about a few months ago. So at the levaya, the Rav practically never goes to a levaya, but what could he do? It was his own brother. So he was there at the levaya, and they were putting him into the ground, and the Rav started screaming out. He said, "What are you doing, burying a live person? How could you do such a thing?" Tzadikim b'mitatam nikraim chayim. Tzadikim, when they're dead, it was so to speak, they're dead, but they're really alive. I heard once a perush, and once somebody was asked, because like people come to Uman. You've been to Uman. You're Nachman himself. So the people go to Uman and they say, they have to say on this. They can't. It's hard for them, sometimes to just talk straight to the Rebbe. So they say maybe it's Doresh Metim. It's like Doresh of the people that are dead. So they say in the merit of the holy Rebbe that's buried here and then. And so once was talking to Nachman Berlin, the son of the Rav, and he said it's the opposite. He said it's no problem to talk to Rabbeinu because tzadikim b'mitatam im chayim, as they're really alive. But if a person, God forbid, does even a little bit of an avera, God forbid, so he's already called a Rasha. And Rashaim, you can't. It's like they're not even alive. So that's called Doresh Mesim. So to question whether you can talk to people in the world, that's a bigger question. But to talk to the tzaddik, there's no question whatsoever. So I was by the kever of Reb Shlomo. on his yahrzeit. And how could you be by a kever of Shlomo? It doesn't make sense. So I'm sure Shlomo's jumping out of it all the time. Could he stay inside of a kever? No, he was always good. Somebody will come to him, will jump out and say, "Shalom, brother, how are you?" So he said, he was explaining what is the meaning of well, you look at your nails. So he said, you have to remember, don't scratch people. You know what scratching means? Like, don't scratch anybody. Just use your hands to bring people close. Oh, Hashem, help us. Hey, somebody else has a guitar. We have to get them into the action here.
They got two. You know,
there's supposed to be a very big segula to sing this, and I don't know how to play it on the guitar, so we'll just say it without the guitar.
No, help her, maybe.
Ish chasidaya b'li mazon Hungry let them let go, be able to hold the call. I don't know if everybody knows the words of the song, but I mean it's a whole story. But it's about a person who had a wife and 5 children, and he didn't have anything to eat. He was what was his work here? He was a tailor, and he didn't even have any clothes to wear. So his wife said, "We can't go on like this anymore. So we have to do something about it." So he said, he said, "But what can I do? I have nothing to wear. How can I go out?" So he said, "We'll borrow from the neighbors." I remember one time when I first met Rav Berlin, like about 50 years ago, he said the only thing that a person needs to do is to serve God. If you have nothing to eat in the house, so then borrow from the neighbors. And if they can't give to you, then the maximum you'll die. and until you die, so you can still keep serving God. It's been true for the last 50 years. So then he goes the whole thing here, and he goes finally goes out, and he's going onto the street. David.
Go in. I'm coming. I'm drying off.
Who is this? Zevi? I thought so. Well. And who's that? That's another boy. Well,
And we came.
well. Who brought the guitar?
Deb's brought the guitar.
Sevi plays? Yeah.
We
So,
have 2 chairs here right now.
so Mayor's house is too big. That's the problem here. Or just have to make zoom lenses like.
Yeah, you got that.
He goes out onto the street. He goes out into the marketplace, and who does he meet? He meets Eliyahu Navi, and Eliyahu Navi says, "Come and sell me as a slave." He says, "What? I'm going to sell you as a slave? You're my master. I'm going to sell my master as a slave." He said, "Don't worry, just do what I say." And he goes to and he says he's calling out in the whole marketplace. I have a slave that can do anything. So somebody says, "Listen, can you make a palace?" He said, "Sure, no problem." So he said, listen, I'll pay you for this slave 800,000 or 800,000 euros. That's not very much. 800,000 gold pieces. So and with that and says, but just please, make me the nicest palace there was, no problem. So he starts working in the night and he starts building it, and then he says, I just don't have koach anymore. He said, Rebbeinu Shalom, Borei Olam B'Kinyan, Hashlem Zabinyan. The master of the world, I started it, you finish it. This is our story. This is the whole story of Olam Yisrael. Hashem doesn't, I know it's hard to finish, but we just have to start, and Hashem will help us to do the rest of it. It's a song of Shlomo. Shlomo has a nigun on this. Help me, Yosef. So happy that you came. Wow.
Sorry. Don't stop. We're just warming up.
We're friends since he was born. The day he was born. I was at his bris.
Yeah, I brought the picture, but I brought the wrong picture.
No.
But you're right here next to Shlomo. Yeah, this is my members.
Wow.
I have, here about, yeah, I have it here somewhere. Mamish.
Take your phone, taking some pictures.
He took the pictures too.
Took the pictures just because you, I thought you would appreciate it. You go, I'll find them.
No, I want to see them.
Thank you. Sorry. I was just showing your granddaughter the pictures that I found. It was in the summer.
Did you meet Ohad?
Yes, of course. It's in my house.
He was in your house?
He knew my house. This is you by my parents' wedding. There you are with Shlomo.
Wow, I don't believe it. Wait a minute, it flipped.
Yeah, so yeah.
I do not
That's
believe
you
it.
and Shlomo by my parents' wedding. That's a nice
Wait a
picture.
minute. This is your...
That's my mom.
your father.
I guess my father I lived with. And it's you.
Wow.
And I'll
Let
show you.
us see them. See the...
This is Shlomo, Kalabach, and Elia. Elia with my parents' wedding. It's flipping right there. Like that, you can see it. That's a few pictures. I should have taken more. I just took these pictures and I was I was in my mother's house and I found some pictures and I just grabbed them. This is by my bris, but yeah, I took the picture with Shlomo and you're here, right here next to Shlomo.
You don't see me.
I have the picture with you and I didn't take it. I should have just taken the picture of it, but I didn't realize I was showing it to you. So I was just in my mother's house and I just took a picture of it.
Wow.
It's flipping, I'm
Wait a
sorry.
minute.
Can I take a picture of your picture?
That's my father.
Let's
Here
show
it
it
is.
around. Do the lock.
Yeah.
You're gonna give the phone for everybody. Everybody see.
Sorry. This is so.
You just passed away just this last week.
Yeah. Amish. This is Yeah.
No, just
Wow,
put it in the
really?
Okay.
We were just
Yeah.
just a day before we came here, we went to Nichum.
Really? Where does she live?
She lives in
Ja, no, no,
That's you in the picture?
Yeah, by my bris. Yeah, this
That's your
is
bris?
yeah, this is Rebellia and Shlomo by my parents' wedding.
This
That
is
is you.
Rebellia?
The same yarmulke.
This is the same one.
No kidding.
Look at that.
That's amazing.
Shlomo and Rebellia. It's amazing. I have so many of the pictures. I could have brought a whole album.
Oh man.
Mamish. I have a picture that I had to bring. I left here, and then I said to my son, "I gotta show Elio this picture. Elio has to see the picture. That picture of Yisrael in my house when we were. But this you have to confirm because we're not sure it's you. This is you gotta see this. Wait, let me get the light on. This is amazing. No, just my flashlight.
Put the light in now for a couple
Oh, this is a
minutes.
Migdal
Yeah,
picture.
this is you and your wife with costumes on Purim, and I don't know if it's you because you're wearing costumes.
I think
Yeah,
this is
put the
me.
tunic in
This is
style.
1972.
This was me. I was wearing that. That's what I was wearing.
Yes.
And this is Miriam,
That's
my
Miriam.
wife.
Yeah, as my mother said, she was right.
יוסי, אתה לא מכיר את סבתא? אני לא נראה אותו? נראית אותו?
Savta.
כן, כן, כן.
Here. They're cool. That's a nice picture. I had to bring that picture. I had it. I said, I made a U-turn. I had to get this picture just to show you.
This is me. This is me. I look pretty much the same.
Look at that. On Purim,
On
1972.
Purim and Migdal. Migdal, Yad area.
Niba v'lo yada ma niba. Amazing pictures. Amazing. Oh, this is from McDonald. This is your son.
Oh, that's your mother. Wow.
Yeah, and this
Who
is
this?
that's Chemi. That's Moshe and David. Always the joke. And this is Israel. That's yours, Israel. Oh, and here you are, Gedalia, playing What's a Shabbos in our house. I have another one with you, bigger picture of you, and I didn't bring it for some reason.
Wow, where is this?
This is in our house.
Which house?
55 Morocco Lane.
What?
Must have been 1984, maybe. No, 80.
This isn't the
83.
bag. We're making the whole 70s.
Yeah, the 70s. This is in the 80s. This is Rebellia with Gedalia, Jew and a friend of ours, playing What's a Shabbos in the house. The Strymon must be the same.
You got a new one.
I have a better picture, and I left it of them really playing, and I just had this one for some reason. Our parents, they knew each other before I was born. This is McDonald's. Who is this? 1972. This is
זה קורה ב9, הסימן של הכנסת.
Purim.
How many years ago was this?
1972.
הרב לא יכול להגיע את זה.
That's it, very
I wish they did.
No, you should have come by. Where were you? So that's great. So this is a picture of this is 1970. This is that.
Take it.
This is the beginning.
I'm not getting the right key right. Just hold on for 1 second, everybody.
אביהו הכיר את הרבי שליטה שבוע שעבר. Rabbi Eliyahu, you met the other Rebbe last week. How was your experience?
Very special. Very special. there's a tradition to tell stories of the Baal Shem Tov, the Talmidav, and the stories of the Baal Shem Tov and the students on Motzei Shabbos.
The chair came.
Yeah, my wife and I have a tradition that on every Motzei Shabbos, actually the Suda Shlishit, when we're together, which is almost all the time. So we always read one of the stories from a book of this 36 Hidden Tzaddikim from Shlomo. We keep telling
you want me to bring you the book, or do you want the book?
No, it's okay. I know about that. Slotana, we always tell her that she has to make more books like this. It's almost incredible. So the sun story, I want to just share with you one story. Once upon a time, there was a great tzaddik whose name was Reb Shimon Mishkernovich. We don't know so much about him today, except really through the stories of Shlomo. But he was from the dynasty of Vorki. Vorki is also the Heilige Amshinaver and all these really holy tzaddikim. Reb Shimon Mishkernovich, he had one chassid who came to see him. And this is the story. He said he came into the room to see the Rebbe, and the first step that he took into the house of the Rebbe, into the room of the Rebbe, his heart broke down and he was crying like a little baby. He said, Rebbe, I'm sure you know, but I live in a town that there aren't any Jewish people in that town. I'm the only one, me and my wife and my children. We tried, Rebbe, how much we could to that we could keep our children inside the house, but how can you keep a whole bunch of children inside the house? You can't lock them in. So they would always go outside, and when they went outside, they would play with the neighbors, but the neighbors were not really neighbors. Rebbe, what can I tell you? My daughter, she was already getting a little bit older. She thought that she fell in love with one of the goyim she was playing with. Rebbe, what can I tell you? He was treating her so bad. He used to beat her all the time. And she took it and she thought that's the way it's supposed to be. And then finally he came up with an ultimatum. He said to her, listen, I think we've got to get married, but I can't marry you if you're Jewish, so you got to go and convert. And was a very good, so to speak, a very good monastery very close by. You go to the monastery and they'll teach you how to be a good Christian. Rebbe, what can I tell you? And he's crying and crying. He said, my daughter is in this monastery now for a few weeks and I don't know what to do. So the Rebbe said, Yankele, he said, I'm going to go there. I'm going there. And he asked the address, and he went with one of his gabbais. And he's standing there on a street corner next to the monastery. And a young Goyish boy comes walking by, and he takes out from his pocket a few kopecks, and he says to him, "Here, take this money. I'm giving you this letter. I want you to bring it into the monastery and give it to this. There's a young girl there that's in the monastery." And the letter says, "Likvod Sarala, the daughter of Yankala." He said, "It's me, Shimon Meshkernovich." He says, "I'm waiting here on the corner for you, and I really can't bear not to see you. Please come and visit me. Please come and see me." So he gives the letter to the boy, he gives him some money, and he disappears. In the meantime, Reb Shimon Meshkernovich is waiting on the corner, and he's waiting and he's waiting. 1 hour, 2 hours, 1 day, 2 days, 3 days. The Gabbai says, "Rebbe, you're an old man already. It's enough, die, She's not going to come out. Just forget it. Says to the Gabbai, "Don't worry, I'll take care of myself." He doesn't leave. It's almost Shabbos, and at the end of the week, all of a sudden, Sarla comes running out of the monastery. She runs up to the Rebbe, and she says, "Rebbe, I knew you weren't going to leave. You were going to wait for me until the end of the world. I knew you would. Rebbe, I want to go home. Please take me home." What can I tell you? If we would hold out for all the holy Jewish souls, all the pachim ktanim, all the little pachim that have gotten a little bit lost in the way, if they would believe that we'll never leave them, we'll always wait for them, I'm sure they'll all come back. A nigun of the Baal Shem Tov that I heard from Shlomo about 54 years ago. Can I put this time? Is it gonna bother you? No, that's my glasses. That was sure won't bother you, but it's gonna bother you. Let's see if it's gonna work. Shlomo the night that he made up the song. So it's incredible. Yeah. So you were there? It was in Berkeley. It was in Berkeley before you were born.
My parents were there.
So what was the story? Is anybody here?
Is anybody here?
יש מישהו כאן? לא? ציפי, את שמעת את הסיפור?
שומעת הכל.
תקשיב, ספר לנו אותו בעברית אחר כך.
לספר את זה בעברית?
לא, אחר כך תעשה.
The story was we were in this hotel room in Berkeley, and there were about maybe about between 75 and 100 people in this little room. It was about half the size of this room that we're in now, and everybody is coming in, and someone's going over to them and giving them a hug and a kiss. So then, what happened? Some boy walked into the room, and he was really in bad shape. It was like his face was like all broken out, and he was like, and it seems as if he must have known it, because he slipped into the room, and he slipped in behind the door, and he was sitting in the corner behind the door. And Shlomo was telling the story. I've heard him telling the story. He said, I saw it happening, and I was saying, Baruch Hashem, he didn't notice me, because I don't have to go over and kiss him. How could I do such a thing? And then Shlomo says to himself, Shakranata, what a liar you are. You kiss somebody if they look nice, and if they don't look nice, you're not going to kiss them. So he said, I pushed myself when I got up and said, Shalom, brother, I'm so happy to see you. And he went over to him and he hugged him and he gave him a hug and he kissed. And he says, believe me, I felt the tears of this boy rolling down into my heart. At that moment, the song came to him, Laman Achai B'Rayai, for the sake of my brothers and friends. It's not just the brothers that are your brothers, your top friends. It's all of your brothers. The ones maybe you have a little hard time with, or the ones that you don't like so much. Because that's going to really bring the Mashiach. If you have patience, I can tell you another little story, but this is a story that I heard from Rabbanan. And the story is that there was one of his close talmidim, Yosef Asulin. Yosef Asulin was his gabbai for maybe about 15 years, and he's still a gabbai on Rosh Hashanah.
Yeah.
So he was in the yeshiva. There was some young bachur that came to learn in the yeshiva, and he decided that he also wants to make good parnasah. And so he needs to buy a very expensive car. And he went around to different of the students that they should all sign for him. They should sign for him that he should have a get a loan to buy this car. So he needed for his business. So he got 15 people to sign it, and Yosef Asulin was one of them. Okay, fine. He didn't last really in the yeshiva. He was just in the yeshiva for about half a year. Then he left, and nobody knew really where he was. Sort of disappeared from the scene, but about 2 years later, there was in the nighttime, it was maybe about 12 at night or 1 o'clock in the morning. There was a big knock on Yosef Asulin's door. So who was knocking like that in the middle of the night? He opens the door and it's two big Moroccan policemen. And they say, "Is your name Yosef?" Yes. Okay, another Yosef. Okay, Yosef, we're taking you to the boar. We're taking you to the prison. What do you mean? What did I do? He said, we've been sending you letters. The courts have been sending you letters. You signed on a loan, and you never paid it. And what do you mean I signed it? There were 15 people signed it. But you didn't read the small print. The small print said that the one who signs in this place, he's responsible for everything. And that was you. He says, what? That? Yeah, and he's, thinking all these things about that. How could he do such a thing to me? And this and that, and wow. And as they were taking you now to the police station, so they look at him, he looks at him, and Yosef's also Moroccan. Landsman, how do you say landsman? In the same country. So they said, okay, we'll let you go now. You have until tomorrow. In the meantime, until tomorrow, then we'll deal with it. And in the meantime, Yosef runs to the Rab's house. And he goes to the Rab, and the Rab opens the door. He says, Yosef came, what's going on? He tells him the whole story. He said, Yosef, I'll tell you what you have to do. You have to go out by the fields of Shmuel HaNavi, by the kever of Shmuel HaNavi, Samuel the prophet, and you have to do his Bodhidus there for an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours, however long it takes, until you completely clean your heart from having anything, any hakpada, how do you say hakpada?
Bad feeling.
Bad feelings about this person. And if you do that, he says, I promise you, you'll see such a light like you never saw in your life before. So Yosef went out to the fields of Shmuel HaNavi, and he's saying, that rat, how could he do such a thing to me? And blah, blah, blah. Until a little bit longer, a little bit more. It took him an hour, 2 hours, 5 hours. After 6 hours, he finally was able to find in his heart a way to forgive him. Oh, you're Shlomo. Oh, God. He said he went up to the kever of Shmuel HaNavi, and it was shining like the brightest light he ever saw in his life. For 3 days, the light was shining. And then he came back to the Rav. And he told him, he said, what can I do that I could keep this light? So the Rav said to him, what you could do is that every day you'll take another person that maybe is not your best friend and find in him also Nekudas Tovos and see also the goodness in that person. And I promise you the light will go on until Ad Yavo Mashiach. Okay, that's the story. But when I told the story back to my wife, she said, well, what about the money? Women are very practical. So I went back to Yosef Asula, and I asked him, no, what happened with the money? He said, first of all, they lowered the amount of money that I had to pay, like to about 25%. And then, it still was a lot of money. I didn't have the money. So I went to somebody who was somebody who gives loans. Since then he's passed away, this person. But in that time, he was a Holocaust survivor, and he used to give very good loans to anybody in Mesharim who was Ashkenazi for at least 20 generations. So I went over to him and I said to him, Moshe, he says, I'm not Ashkenazi, but I really need this loan. So he gave it to him on very good conditions. And slowly he paid off the rest of it. And still the light is still shining. Oh, yeah. Where's our drummer? I'm sorry, you're actually not the drummer. What's your name?
Yonasan Mashiach.
Huh?
Yonasan Mashiach.
Mashiach,
Are you related to Gabby?
We're mamish like soul brothers, like mamish.
Yeah.
Physically.
Because he's also Mashiach.
Really? He never told me.
We have two Mashiachs in the
Goes to show
same
you.
room.
You have a best friend.
His grandmother was No?
It's very hard to find.
Right, someone just told me about that, right? That's the Sukkot, right?
Yeah, that's the most.
Wow. Look at that. Sukkot, you recognize this handsome man? Yeah, you have a show.
Well, I don't know. Are there in there?
All hippies, all dressed as hippies, right?
13 is the 13 social senidas.
I love this picture.
Don't forget the picture.
So again, the Arifan.
Who are these pictures here? Who's this? This is
Rav Sukkot.
That's our Sukkot.
Who's he
He
playing
was
with?
with Gedalia Jew and he lives in Miami now. They were friends. And my dad was here also. Was in the shadows.
You know what? You know?
This is his
Oh,
the Rav's son playing with me when we were kids. Just before I was
Were you from Israel? You were born in Israel?
I went here and then moved there.
David,
Same
אתה
time,
מכיר?
Who's this, your parents?
Yeah, my parents.
כן, אז זה הבן שלו.
That's us. That's just a picture of us.
That's awesome. With the goats. With the goats.
Crazy pictures. You call me.
טוב, כן, צריך לברך.
Amen.
Should I bring them up?